Greetings, hello, greetings, comrades. It's me, it's your man, it's Gamer. Welcome to the Russian Troll Factory. Gonna have a great show today. I'm really excited. We've got a new guest, never seen before on the channel. That's always good. Expanding the bubble. It's gonna be cool. We're gonna look at some toxic people, some toxicity. So, who better to get on to help me discuss that than a man that I've seen described as number one and number two in Vosh's Rogues Gallery. It's Flamenco. Hello.
Welcome how's it going, buddy?
I'm good. How are you? How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I don't know. I don't even know if I would be called that. I think like Destiny is like number one in his thing.
I got this bottle of wine here. A friend at work made it. A friend from Mega Evil Corporation, yeah. And he was like, probably have it with lemonade, bro. I was like, yeah, all right, you pussy. Yeah, of course I'll have it with lemonade. And I drank like one glass. Oh my God, fucked already. It's pretty strong. So that's good. That means we're going to have a good show. We've got some people in the chat already. Let's have a look who we got, who's here. Connor Sween is first. Hello, Greens Comrade. I think you're new. Haven't seen you before. Make sure you like and subscribe if you are new. T Places Late and Gay, that's correct. Everything, always. I love you. I love you too, Obscure Anomaly. I love everyone who's a subscriber, but not as much as I love members. Oh my God, those guys are the best. Joe Frogger says homoerotic and untimely. Yeah, lots of people here. Hello. Earthmind, hello. Jiglin. Lots of people. So, Flamenco, you're new on the show. You haven't been on the show before. New guests, we always ask them this question first.
Are you a member of the Communist Party? Or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
No, I can't say that I have.
Oh,
is the Communist Party still even like a thing in the United States?
I think there's an American Communist Party. I see what's his face talking about him all the time. Has from Infrared. I think he wants to infiltrate them or something. We've got one here in the UK that's also very lame. Because it's got bad branding. Communism hasn't got the best PR history. It just don't. So before we get onto like the topic at hand, obviously there's people in my audience who have no idea who you are, who've never heard of you before. So do you want to give us a description of that, who you are? Tell the people.
So my channel is youtube.com/Flamenco TV. I'm primarily like a video game streamer because that's probably what I do like the majority of it is. I'll also cover like a just deluge of drama. Generally also go over some political essays that I find, or political video essays that I find like kind of humorous and try to look at through a humorous lens. Yeah, although my channel is like a disorganized mess because I'm extremely lazy when it comes to it. So it is all over the place. I eventually do need to tidy it up for new viewers, but they'll live.
Well, you're doing all right, and yeah, you got nearly 7,500 subs, which is great. I'd love to get up to some big numbers like that. That would make me one of the biggest channels in Comicsgate automatically. Like numbers like that would be great.
You have to cover like breaking drama. That's where like the majority of my better live streams have been, and then once you get that like market set, you can probably do like a recap on some of the drama, and then that's where I got most of my like main subscribers from in terms of like uploads this year.
Yeah, I don't even know who that is. See, like it's crazy.
I covered like a sexual harassment, like sexual impropriety thing, and I didn't even know who this guy was. He's like apparently a very famous like live streamer and like a YouTube personality, but I mainly found out about him through there's a YouTube channel called Mandalore Gaming who retweeted that, and it was like really bad, and eventually Mandalore like apologized and everything. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, because one of the things I'm trying to do here on my channel is I don't want to do breaking news in it, because it's a race. Breaking news, isn't it? I want to make videos that you can watch in 5 years, like, and will still be funny. Because basically, you know, the movie Hot Shots. I've watched the movie Hot Shots now, 30 years later or whatever, and the jokes are still funny in it, like because it's removed from like breaking news. Like I want to make a channel like that. There's one of my favorite YouTubers. You know this guy, Grade A Under A. You seen that guy before? Yeah. So his videos are like that. He's got some drama ones that are a bit more chasing the algorithm or whatever.
Right.
Like, but they're great. Like, I still watch them now, and I want to make videos like that people in the chat, some of the bots in the chat, like, will watch.
Yeah, exactly. I get that. I get that sentiment. I think honestly, like, I've also had a lot of fun covering like specific lolcows, because if I get interested in one, I'll cover it and I'll have some fun with that. And that's sort of a nice little bookend. Although I always feel like I'm stealing some people's thunder when I do that. So I always kind of, you know, just try to not repeat what other people do.
Yeah, so that's a issue that we have here in CG, and it that there's the breaking news, and then like 6 people will break it in the first hour, and then the topic's dead, and it, like, because everyone's offered every opinion that we have on the subject, like you know what I mean. One of the things I'm trying to do, so. Like I'm zooming out a little from Comicsgate. It's one of the reasons why I've got you here. And I'm looking more specifically at this anti-SJW part of the circle. I think about it in Venn diagrams on it. And Comicsgate is like an anti-SJW circle that overlaps with a comic book circle. Like, we're right in the middle of there. But there must be like these other points in space, these other circles with their own like orbits that overlap in it, like and my first like exploration for those was by dipping into BreadTube. Like, I was expecting to find some anti-SJWs in there, but what I found instead was the people roasting them, like and those people align more nicely with what I look for. So I'm grabbing those guys, saying, come on down, which reminds me, I'm now on 1,395 subs in it. So
nice.
Only need 5 more subs to break 1.4K, which will be great. The growth this year has been real good. Like, it's going well. You know, it took a year and a half to get 1,000, and then it grows exponentially from this point, and as long as I keep making stuff, people will keep coming to watch it.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
No, I get that.
So that's that. Oh, I didn't do the news. Hang on, let's do some news. Where's the fucking bongers at? Oh man, this is some strong wine. Here we go. I got loads of fucking work done on Not Daredevil, like yesterday. I'm probably gonna have it finished tomorrow. Like, we're that close now. Like, I can smell victory. We're gonna be sending those out soon. Like, it's still in demand. So if you want to grab one, please do. Flamenco, you don't know this. Like, this book that I've done, Not Daredevil, the cover was banned by Indiegogo, yeah, because. Well, I'll show it to you. Hang on. I've got one here. A sample one. So this is the cover that got banned because it's like fighting these KKK dudes. And you see they've got like little swastikas on them because they're Nazis, because they're bad guys. He's like literally punching Nazis. And it got banned. They wouldn't like... release the funds that the bots had kindly contributed to like the production of the book. They wouldn't let me have it. They said you gotta take the cover off, so I did. But that's coming soon. Like it's really close. Like that's gonna be great. So
I am once again asking for your financial support.
Yeah, send us some dollars. That'd be nice. Have we got anything else? No. All right. That's the end of the news. Fucking hell. All right. So I'll get you here. I want to talk about these other. Like, so I'm trying to overlap the circles out. I'm trying to find other communities that have been attacked by SJWs. They get called toxic. They get called alt-right and Nazis and stuff. Like, and I want to work out what's going on in each of them. I'm sure there's like some grander picture that I'm not seeing in it. Like, that's why I'm trying to do this zoom out, like to get a more bird's eye view, like of what's going on or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the word toxic here is defined on Urban Dictionary as an adjective used to describe usually very negative person that bitch about everything, spread unnecessary hate, or just talk shit about others. You can meet these people in any online game community, and they're the main coin of online gaming. So, like, I agree that that's what the word toxic is used as. Like, but I think that describes the internet. Like, I think that's everyone on the internet. Everyone does that.
Everyone on social media, definitely. Most people on social media are like pretty fucking miserable half the time, I would say.
Yeah, like, and I have found through like some SEO experiments and stuff that people love the talking shit way more than like me saying this is my favorite book that I like and explaining it to you. People want to see me like verbally destroying someone in it. Like that's what they want to see. That's what people want to watch. It's weird that the internet, and I would argue capitalism itself, like rewards that sort of behavior, encourages it or whatever. And even the SJWs on the other side are guilty of this same thing in it. You know, like anytime that someone calls out a pronoun or something like that, it's like causing division in it. Like you're just going in there to start fights. Like it happens on all sides. Oh, well, Hungry Dunk says Mark is drunk. This will be great. I hope so. Michael McCartney says, "Is that my book? You are going to get one." That's a sample one. I'm going to make something very special with those. We'll see soon. Gramatu says, "Flam going to join the Chinese Communist Party." Let's go.
No, Gramatu's just ignore him, I would say.
Is that one of your dudes? Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little bit of an oddball. Really like him.
Oh, I like people like that. Make sure you subscribe if you're in the chat. I'm really close. Like, I really want to get over that line today. Okay, so this is the thing that started this whole idea for me. You remember, like a year or so ago, this came out. Yeah, we've got share audio on. Can you hear this?
Good evening, YouTube. My name is.
Can you hear this woman talking? Yeah. No.
Wait, who is that?
And I am making a.
Is the share sound on? That's what I'm checking.
Yeah, but is that like somebody's YouTube channel or?
Oh, this was a random nobody like on the internet. She'll explain it to you now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because I am an avid knitter and have been for a couple of years now. I actually am a more avid crocheter. I've been crocheting since the 4th grade, which was a long time ago. So I say that to say that I have been doing needlework and what have you for more than 40 years now. And last year I decided to get more involved in the knitting community, or I thought I would, because I was, picking up knitting again. I was never an expert, and I wanted to better my skills. So I thought I'd join the knitting community out there on Facebook, on Ravelry, on Instagram, and just get a taste of what was going on YouTube. I found a lot of help out there. I was very appreciative of that. And don't you know, almost within a couple of months of me discovering, these folks, all of a sudden I'm seeing.
I played that for ages without talking, so I'm just pausing it to talk in it, just to break it up. Paulo Costa in the chat is my Portuguese friend. Says, Mark's drunk. I'm getting down to a Bushmills. I assume that's a beer. Okay, hello, new person. Okay, let's carry on. Next screen.
And all this stuff about politics, and we don't like Trump, and we don't like this, and we don't like that, and all this other stuff, and people of color in the knitting community. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on? Why are we not just talking about knitting and crocheting and what have you? Knitting has nothing to do. Anybody can go buy some damn needles and yarn.
Yeah, so she's saying that, like, when Trump got elected, like, it caused a divide in the knitting community, in it.
Yeah.
Like, and that they had their own issues with SJWs in the knitting community. And now, as a circle community or whatever, that's right on the other fucking side of the universe and the galaxy from Comicsgate, in it. Like, but they're facing this same issue, and there has to be lessons like that we can learn from these other groups to help grow Comicsgate and grow our individual channels, like, at the same time. That's fun. But
anybody can learn how to knit. This is not rocket science. Hell, in the least you can bring your behind out to YouTube and watch a video just like I did. That doesn't require anything. Why must I have anyone's permission to go get some damn needles and the yarn and learn how to knit? Or why must I have them accept me? That's stupid. It's so dumb. Why must I have someone accept me so I know that I can knit in a community? Forget you. Why would that ever matter? Why would it ever matter to me whether you voted for Trump or not? That's dumb. Why would it ever matter to me whether you voted for Hillary or not? That's stupid. This is all dumb. And I'm going to tell everyone out here, stop being such pussies. Stop being such pansies. Stop letting these people hurt your feelings. That's dumb. All of us are grown out here. Nobody's a kid. You should be able to speak your mind and let folks go on about their business. These people are not the boss of you. They can't tell you what to think. Forget them. Life's too short. Let these folks have their say and go on about their business. It's none of their business who you voted for, who you want to be, or anything else. I'm black. I've been black for 55 years.
so I don't know how much you know about Comicsgate, like, but it's my base, so I'm going to keep going back there to explain stuff. That I forgot what she said now.
Business who you voted for, who you want to be.
Okay, yeah. So one of the things that people say about Comicsgate is that we're against, like, politics in books, and it, like, or get your politics out of the books or whatever. And is I don't have the whole thought.
Or anything else. I'm black. I've been black for 55 years. I don't need nobody's permission to do nothing. I don't need white or black SJWs speaking for me. I can speak for myself. Go be a victim somewhere else. I am not a victim. And if I was, you can't help me do shit. So stop. So I'm just saying this to say I support the real knitting community, the real people out here.
Okay, I remembered the thought now. It's not so much that we have to keep the politics out of the books, yeah. It's that your own political, like, opinions shouldn't matter. Like, that it should always be about the merit of the work, like, not the ethnicity of the creator or the diversity of the cast in the book. Like, things shouldn't be sold on that. It should be, and you shouldn't be allowed to be kicked out of the mainstream for having a different opinion from them. Like, and you know, it should be fine for communists and right wingers to work together. It should be fine for everyone to work together in it. Like, it shouldn't matter. They're fucking knitting. Like, why argue about this?
Well, I think like a good way to explain it too is because I think like a common adage that are people who are attacking sort of like specific Comicsgate in particular is people there's not so much of a problem of like having political stuff in media or in fiction. You know, you can have like because you can have really entertaining media with that. You can have really interesting like political intrigue and fiction. I would say like I guess like one of the bigger ones is like, you know, Game of Thrones and its subsequent like popularity. That's like like that's not necessarily as much about like just random people as it is like the people who are head of their political structure and the machinations towards, you know, different goals and fighting against each other that way. So like people don't necessarily want politics out of media. They just don't want to be like, they don't want to be lectured to. They don't want to be like, you know, kind of talked down to, I guess. And they also probably don't want like, you know, political affiliations dictating who does it and who does get work.
Yeah. I think that should be a obvious thing that we should have in a secular society, and it like that just as your sex, your gender, your race, and that doesn't matter, your political opinion shouldn't matter either. Like everyone should be free to have their own. Well Hung and Dunk says this is bizarre, which it is. What is that for one gun? No, I've lost it. Oh, here it is. Not my monkeys, not my sucker. Says Flamenco, wondering why he has agreed to this. Oh, it's train to the gulag. That's the gulag train.
Who want to just knit and be happy. I'm not interested in your politics. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're straight, black, white, otherwise. Forget all that. Don't come for me, because I am not the one. I will fight back. I don't care about your little feelings. Facts don't care about your feelings. I don't need you to be my friend. I don't need you to prop me up. I don't need you to save me. Go worry about your own self. Like that little girl said in the video, worry about yourself. Thank you and goodbye.
But yeah, so that's what got me started on it, on this idea that there's all these other like communities out there that have this potential overlap with Comicsgate, with anti-SJW circles. Like I'm trying to explore that. So I've picked Bronies in it. You know Bronies? Like
vaguely. I kind of know a little bit of the modern phenomena of male My Little Pony fans, specifically with the Hasbro Hub Network show. But I really only know about it so far as like sort of mock animations of it and Chris Chan's enjoyment of it specifically. But I like one of the interesting things was I think a couple of years ago, back in the April 1st joke for 4chan, they had like different boards merging with each other. So you would have like I think anime and comics and cartoons merged or something like that. But one of the funnier ones was My Little Pony and Pole, and which is they got along pretty well.
Yeah. So the Pole group page, whatever, is supposedly like where all the alt-right people hang out in it, like and they did it to start a fight potentially like between those two groups. It'd be a bloodbath, a massacre or whatever, and like I said,
right.
it ended up going quite well.
Oh, and I will also say this. I think there was one episode that had like somewhat like political messaging, because I think there was like some episode that was like borderline sort of like a Marxist hierarchy structure thing, or lack of hierarchy structure, because all the ponies have like little emblems on them that like represent something important to them, and there was like a society of them that like had like just blanket marks and everyone was the same, and like it was like the moral of the story was that was like bad and you should allow for individuality. So that's the extent that I know of My Little Pony and like I guess political messaging.
Yeah, you've already owned my knowledge like on the subject. So until a few days ago, when I was trying to like decide what I was going to look at today, my whole experience with Bronies had just been that I knew that it was a portmanteau of the words bro and ponies, and that you know, some people started liking My Little Pony and they were men, and it was like ha ha ha, isn't that funny? And then everyone says they're Nazis now. Like so I was like, how did that happen? And since I've been in Comicsgate, like I was saying this on the show with Anna the other day, now that when I hear someone throw an accusation at someone or something is racist, my first reaction, my instinct is to not believe it, and it like straight away. Like if you said to me, this person, crack croc in the chat is racist, I'd say just probably not. Like so now I'm questioning everything. Like and I don't know how right this is. So I found this video from this guy, Kavanagh, his name is, and he's got like 40-some-thousand subscribers, so it's quite a big dude. And I had a quick look at his channel, and this guy's already done a lot of work for me in that he's one of these channels that attacks like these communities. Mm-hmm. So he's already made a list for me. He's like already gathered them all up. Like there's a guy, an anti-Comicsgate guy called Forced Adversity. If you go to his channel, he'll show you the highlights of who's the best channels to go and watch in it. Like those anti guys like are the part of the promotion machine. That's what Disney does to
he also really doesn't. Yeah, the fandom menace people too. They really, holy shit, they get like really irrationally angry at those people. Holy shit. No, I've seen this guy before. He is I think he got big because he got like, I think, antagonistic with PewDiePie's audience, and then cried like foul of people criticizing him because he attacked PewDiePie's audience. And I think he does that like with similar people trying to do the same thing. He does that with like JonTron. I want to say he probably has done Ben Shapiro, but a variety of like kind of popular people. He'll just like insinuate that they're bad, get negative flack for it, and then complain that he got negative flack for it, and then like gets a lot of it. I mean, hey, it's a formula that works for him. It's just like he his videos are like really not good. I would say he releases the same like 5 videos every month. Basically just bitching about like a fandom or something, which is like one of his shticks.
Yeah, it's like it's perfect for me. Like he's done half of the research for me. Like gathered all the groups in one place for me to like examine. So Tree Goblins here. He says, "Yo, comment mark, hello." Adam says, irrespective of your beliefs, if you're a grown man who considers themselves a fan of kids' cartoons about ponies, I'm probably not going to give you much of my time. Yeah, I can see that, but at the same time, like I'm always examining myself. I do like the Powerpuff Girls a lot. Like it's got a lot of that same sort of girly, cutesy shtick that I imagine My Little Pony has. Like No One Monkeys, No One Sex says Mark only does 4 videos that are the same per month.
Yeah. I also can understand the cute aesthetic. I like the Hololive people, which is like a Japanese entertainment managed company that has like basically like created characters as streamers that like do stuff, and it's very cute and wholesome, and I like it. But I can understand it. It's just My Little Pony is just not something I ever got into.
And as well, the sorts of men that would like My Little Pony, in my imagination, based on no research, I would assume would be those same pink and blue haired men, you know, men with with glitter beards and stuff, like people that I would consider more likely to be on the SJW team or whatever of the culture war. I'm all about class war, not culture war. But you know what I mean? I would say
that Bronies sort of have more overlap with like just general nerd fandom. And like it, I would say it definitely goes into a sort of like weird niche. I don't know if you're familiar with like Homestuck, but it has a very colorful fandom, to say the least.
All right, I'm going to put them on the list.
Homestuck is a freaking is a quagmire into itself.
All right, great. I'm going to look into that as well then. Awesome. There's a cartoon in North Korea called Squirrel and Hedgehog that's got this same cutesy aesthetic, but it's also combined with North Korean militarism and the Jewish ideal or whatever. And it's just really it's a real juxtaposition to see like this little cute hedgehog and squirrel like in their army uniforms. Like there's a duck guy who is in the Navy. Like it's great, but we're not here to talk about squirrel and hedgehog. Let's have a look at this cabinet.
So it seems a lot of you guys have been enjoying my series of delving into various communities online and really exposing a lot of racism or just really toxic views a lot of them have. Now, one of my better received ones was neo-Nazis in the furry community. Essentially what the video was doing was showing how the type of people who make up that community are also the type of people that alt-right often target, and despite, people dressing up as animals really not fitting in with a lot of Nazi and alt-right ideology, there is still a large contingent of furries who do subscribe to these beliefs. And of course this week I made another...
Alright, so now, go on.
With the furries, like he's kind of right, but like to say that they subscribe to a specific ideology when they like have they'll have like furries dress up in like SS uniforms or something like that. To say that like that is a subscription or a condonement of like any ideology is kind of a stretch. It might just be like ironic. It might be to like shock, because these are people that like draw like almost animals having sex with each other. It like to ascribe like genuine racism or genuine like hatred of any group is like really a stretch, I would say.
It's like this, isn't it? Like banned for having swastikas on, for being controversial, like for mocking Nazis. Like we don't know the intentions of these individuals doing drawings of Nazi My Little Ponies or whatever. Like it could be satirical. A lot of people like struggle to see where the line is here on the Commie Mark channel, like between my real communist views and my dialed to 11 shock value communism on top. Like no, my Mark is not my sex says he's a Brit. Yeah, I know, it's disappointing, isn't it?
The eternal Anglo. Oh, he
did say something that reminded me.
People dressing up as animals, really not fitting in with a lot of Nazi and alt-right ideology.
Oh, he mentions the alt-right pipeline in it, which is an interesting thing that I've noticed when I've been when I was looking into BreadTube, doing my BreadTube research. That a lot of the channels there have videos which is just a version of this video of this is how I was like a 15-year-old virgin or whatever, and I almost became an alt-right Nazi, like because and they show like the journey that they got to, and then at the end they reached BreadTube. I'd argue that's the BreadTube pipeline, like if that's where it leads to at the end. But whatever, that's the thing that I found when I came into making comic books, that I just went to Twitter and started following comic book accounts. And what happened was, for the first time, the YouTube algorithm fed me into right-wing Twitter, like instead of left-wing Twitter. And it's a weird, bizarro world where everything's backwards, like, and upside down and that. So there is certainly something there, like the algorithm is designed to cause fights, like and it promotes like this kind of behavior.
Well, the YouTube likes to recommend videos that are similar enough, and it's also based on like if somebody watches this and they watch this also, and enough people do that, then they're going to recommend people who watch A to watch B. The overall like intention is to get people to stay on the website more. And I would say that like if you watch somebody like a Big Joel or somebody like that, you're going to be recommended other people in that sort of category. So, and it's just sort of like the way YouTube works. It just in general, I would say.
Yeah. So that's why this guy here, this Tabernacle dude, is so successful in it, because of, like what you said, he's cruising across all of these groups, like with his attack videos.
Well, I think it's that. I think there's also a level of, he is very good at finding a specific thing that appeals to people who would be in his audience and receptive to his arguments and to his videos, by like going after people that they don't like. So obviously JonTron, obviously PewDiePie, or just like to do something that's very provocative, such as like, say, like My Little Pony and it's like Nazi problem or something like that.
Right.
There is still a large contingent of furries who do subscribe to these beliefs. And of course, this week I made another video talking about Nazi apologetics in World War II fan communities. But this video is sort of a sequel to the furry one, in that I'm focusing on bronies. So bronies are men who enjoy the cartoon My Little Pony. But just like the furry community, it turns out they also have a neo-Nazi problem. Now, I have known about...
So, I think, based on how I know, based on my observations of how Comicsgate works, and the image that's presented by people outside of Comicsgate about what Comicsgate is, and then I'm looking at this brony thing, I'm expecting that this is just a reaction to white men liking this thing now. Like it's an invasion. It's like a cultural appropriation thing from white girls or something. I don't know. Like we'll find out
about this for a while, but I didn't know it was as large scale. So shout out to The Atlantic and writer Caitlin Tiffany, who wrote an article a couple weeks ago titled My Little Pony fans are ready to admit they have a Nazi problem. So what I'm going to do in this video is sort of explain how Nazis gain prominence in the brony community, and then I'm going to talk about the type of people who join these communities, and then I'm going to link it back to some of the other videos I've made on gaming, furries. And just like with the furry video, I think it's important to point out, just in case I have any brony followers or brony subscribers, is that, of course, I am not saying all people who watch My Little Pony, all people who join the community online and have their own avatars of their own ponies and everything, I'm not saying everyone on it is a Nazi. I'm not even saying most of them are. I've actually seen some comments and interviews of people who are really, really inclusive. So this is not an attack on the entire brony community. But going back to The Atlantic...
Just these white dudes now. Not My Monkeys, Not My Circus says, after Mark's show, YouTube normally recommends the Samaritans YouTube channel to me. That's funny. That's a suicide charity here in the United Kingdom.
Oh, shit. Oh, that's a good joke. That's a good joke.
Article, I thought I'd read a little bit of it just to outline where this weird subculture within a subculture has actually come from. So Caitlin writes, the brony subculture is about as niche as they come, born in the internet forums in the early 2010s, an era when hyper-specific interests were the organizing principle of social media.
So 2010 is before the election and before Trump came into power, and that seems to have been the spark that blew the powder keg of internet hatred or whatever on. So this predates that, is what I'm saying, which is interesting. I've been finding more examples of this sort of issue that are going back further than what I'm told is the beginning, of this issue. You see the SJWs, they always say Gamergate did it, all of this, and and I'm finding more and more examples that predate that even predate the death of Harambe. Rest in peace, Harambe. It seems to be a much older problem than what they're telling us.
Well, and I add, honestly, the people who complain about Gamergate are the only people still bringing it up. Even the people even Sargon, after he wanted to do Gamergate 2 and get Trump to tweet out about it or something like that, is just I don't care. I've moved on. I don't know. There's the critics of Gamergate are probably the people who are the most invested in it, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. It's an equal and opposite to groups like the Fandom Menace over here. That if if Disney was liquidated tomorrow, if they really went bankrupt, so would all of those guys. Because their whole thing is built on their symbiotic advertising relationship with Disney.
I don't necessarily know about that. A large portion of the Fandom Menace is largely media critique, right?
Yeah, that's
so.
True.
I think that media will always exist. The main problem with Gamergate is that you would see this also with something like Occupy Wall Street. It had like people who genuinely had a belief in a specific thing, but it was largely decentralized. So you didn't have like any sort of leadership, any sort of like administrative body to further this like one belief. And I don't even think they had necessarily like concrete goals. It was like disclose ties for game publishers and games journalists to make sure that like nobody is trading favors for something like that. And what also really killed Gamergate was once it hit its like plateau, people started to notice more and more people starting to like try to make money off of it. Mr. Mediker, one of the guys who like really furthered Gamergate as like internet aristocrat, specifically cited like people doing GoFundMes to fix their fucking teeth in the name of Gamergate or something like that. And that's when it sort of like died for him. But with the Fandom Menace, like there's never gonna like stop being bad fiction, you know what I mean? And there might be like a little bit less of an incentive to like, you know, be fan advocates for, because maybe eventually media companies will stop being antagonistic towards their audience. You know, maybe, hopefully not, because it's really funny. But yeah. Yeah, Monday Matt killed Gamergate. Yeah, Monday Matt started Gamergate, and he also killed it in its crib. Just smothered it with a pillow.
So I came in after all of this, and it like I was off somewhere else, like in a completely different, unrelated internet niche community with my own bubble, like a million miles away from all of this. And I believed all of the mainstream media propaganda that was fed about groups like Gamergate and Comicsgate and stuff. Like previously, if you told me someone was a racist, I'd probably believe it, or I'd at least go in with suspicion, like to do my own research. Now I go in looking to disprove that claim, like it's switched, ain't it?
Or at least to just like ask, like, what are your bases for saying these? Like, what examples do you have to provide, or anything like that? Yeah, I think that like the main takeaway, like if there's like one positive, is that like a lot of people took a look at mainstream press coverage and sort of like kind of got the inclination that sometimes media organizations aren't as interested in telling the truth as much as they are telling a narrative. So yeah, you always gotta look for where their biases might be, I guess.
That's how you make good propaganda. That is like sell narratives rather than facts. And you mentioned like show to give a hope. In this video, that he's going to give us some examples of bronies doing Nazi shit. So I'll say, okay, there are at least these 3 brony Nazis or whatever. I hope he's going to do that. Like, and I will spin on a dime. I'll eat the biggest piece of humble pie that you've ever seen. Like, I love being wrong. It's my favorite thing. That's when I learn new things. So let's see it. Like, show me the evidence. We watched a video about incels the other week with that Star Wars girl, and no evidence at all in this whole video. So hopefully this Tabernacle guy, like he's got some more responsible journalism or whatever. Like let's see, is he actually going to show us?
So, bronies have long captured the world's attention. They hold well-attended fan conventions. They've been stars of multiple documentaries. Many of the show's adult fans genuinely enjoy My Little Pony and the wholesome escapism it provides. Others, however, delight in the irony of the fandom. To them, it's edgy and provocative to be an adult obsessed with cartoon ponies. That's where the Nazis come in. My Little Pony fans primarily express their enthusiasm for the show by sharing their own cartoon drawings of the main characters, which they usually upload to image boards. The most popular of these sites is called Buru, a combination of a character's name and a common term for image board. So essentially, this is just an art site, but then Caitlin says, a substantial number of them are extremely jarringly violent, and an image that I recently viewed on the site depicts a My Little Pony character presiding over 3 lynchings and 1 beheading of cartoons drawn to represent various marginalized groups. So just going into where the Nazis come from, even a quick glance at the history of the My Little Pony fandom serves.
No picture though.
Well, I mean, I guess you can't really show it, especially if like one of the ponies is like leading a lynching. But again, what I would also argue in this instance is like, is the artist trying to depict like, hey, we should do this, but in real life, or are they doing it to like just shock people and to, because like, again, one of the things you also have to understand is that like these image words, like they are very notorious for trying to outdo each other in just how edgy they can be.
Yeah.
You know, like I never have seen shiny CCTV footage of like just like industrial accidents before going on to 4chan, but like people will, if they have the opportunity to, they will like try to shock you as hard as they can, and they will do stuff like that. And I would say I would hazard to say that, like, you know, maybe they're not actually trying to push a narrative. Maybe they're just trying to like get you to clutch your pearls. And I think if that's the case, then the artist definitely did it, because they wrote this entire article about it.
Yeah, scored a fucking home run. Yeah, and there's certainly an element of that. The internet loves that, and it like memes. That's the best way to go, and it shocking, being as shocking as possible. Last week, maybe the week before, there was a Marvel artist that got into a bunch of trouble, like with the company, because a picture surfaced that he did in the past of, you know, the Brazilian president Bolsonaro, or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Like there's a picture of him like dressed as a knight on a horse or whatever, and he's going around and he's chasing like these former Brazilian politicians, like Lula and that
right.
woman one whose name I forget. But they're depicted like as these small little furry rat-like creatures, like so he got in a load of trouble for that. They showed that as well, like on that article. Like I saw some evidence that at least the image exists. They were saying that that guy was being anti-Semitic, like by making them into little rat people.
Wait,
like,
were these politicians that he was going after actually Jewish?
I don't believe so. They're Brazilians. I would assume that they were like Christians, probably specifically Catholics. Like I don't know the answer to that question, but that guy has been in trouble before. There was a book that he drew, and I want to say it was an X-Men, and the characters go to a jewelry store, to a pawn shop, whatever you would call that in America. And in the window, they're inside the shop, you can see the window, and you know the writing is backwards because the writing's on the other side of the window there in the shop, and it says jewelry like in the window instead of jewelry. Like the guy's got his. There's another example as well. He wrote something in a coffee shop that I can't remember, but I've seen those pictures. You know what I'm saying? Like the people attacking those guys at least said, here's the evidence, like look at this. But
this is a valuable template for how not to build an online community. The fandom was born on 4chan, the largest den of chaos and toxic beliefs on the internet. In 2012, a message board called MLP was set up because My Little Pony...
Also, he says here, My Little Pony, the fandom serves as a valuable template for how to not build communities. That's what I'm trying to understand in it. Like, how do we make a big, great community? That's why I'm going and learning from all these other groups.
Conversations were taking up too much space on boards for TV and comics. Now, what Kaden actually leaves out is that the reason the neo-Nazi subculture within the Brony community took off is because for an April Fool's joke, they blended the My Little Pony 4chan forum and they blended the poll one, which is the alt-right one, just to see them.
So his timeline is wrong. I think I'm pretty sure the poll My Little Pony merge was like 2017. I guarantee you My Little Pony had like a bunch of fucking edgy shit on it before then. That's like a really fucking dumb assertion to make, I would say. Yeah. 1 second, let me check. Let me just check when it was.
I mean, where, like, I'm sure there's My Little Pony images that are sexualized or whatever. I guarantee that those have existed as long as My Little Pony has. And like that's edgy, like in a different way from Nazis, but it's just like we were saying, it's people trying to shock in it. Like the internet works on this basis that if you go, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, the longer you're looking at me, the more money I'm getting in it.
Right.
Like that's how
or the more attention that you're getting or something like that. Yeah, exactly. I think this also has something to do with there's sort of like a disconnect between online communities that are driven by anonymity versus ones that are drawn from like communities that have like names attached to them. Because on 4chan, you know, one of the things that you're not supposed to do is to make it about yourself. You're supposed to post as an anonymous person. That's sort of like the board's culture. If you're a specific person who did something, or you're a specific person who's like alleging something and has evidence for it, that's like really the only time it's socially acceptable in those circles to like make it about yourself. But like when you have people who are anonymous, you're going to try to one up each other in terms of edginess. But with like people having names or something, you don't maybe want that tied to you. And if your communities value like purity, like I guess his, you probably would like try to stay as far away from edgy stuff as possible.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I'm sure that I've seen a study that backs that up, that idea that when we're more anonymous, like that we'll do worse shit.
Well, less socially acceptable shit.
Yes, that's a fair way to describe it. There's a comment here from Cheeto that says we can learn something from the My Little Pony community. We can. I always say that the people you can learn the most from is your enemies. Like they will show you where all of your weaknesses are. They'll lay them out for you, and then you know what to fix. This guy is perfect for this. Like forced adversity before him, he's showing me the road, like and showing me how to dodge all of the potholes, like on the way. Mm-hmm. I love like watching enemies.
Many of them actually got along and born a new subculture, which is alt-right bronies. So now you have an entire forum just for them, ML poll. So alt-right bronies have their own place to congregate. So essentially there is a quick outline of neo-Nazi involvement in the brony community. Now let's link it back to other communities I spoke about. So with the furry community, there was data and a lot of insight from alt-right people in there that said most people in the furry community.
Oh, I just want to pause for a moment. There's a great comment from Adams in the chat that says, wasn't that not making it about you part of the knitting gay argument as well?
Kind of. She didn't want like her personal identity to be part of like her, I guess, value within the circle of that. I would say, yeah, I would say that's sort of it. With the large majority of people that will say like common, you know, platitude X or whatever, is like from what I can tell is it's generally social capital, and people will like prioritize social capital over like literal getting paid sort of things. Like there is an economy in like not only doing what you believe is right, but being seen doing what you believe is right. And some people kind of treat like, you know, one a little bit more importantly than the other, which really kind of tells you what they actually believe in terms of like their like altruism or whatever.
Yeah, well, being seen, the whole virtue signaling side of it is much easier. Like you can do way more virtue signaling than actual helping. Like much easier to get more stuff done in a day. You can do 100 tweets about fighting racism,
right?
Much easier than you can actually do some fighting racism.
Are white men. Now, just like many communities like this, be it brony or furry,
like they just said, white men, and it's a recurring thing.
A lot of white men who join these communities are looking for a sense of belonging and identity. And it is, of course,
and real quick, one of the other fact checks I'm looking through right now is apparently like My Little Pole or ML Pole or whatever is like an actual spin-off image board, but it does not seem as if it is like a a particularly active thing. I'm looking at threads that were started like as late as like 2019 that haven't been updated since like a day ago, but it only has like 6. Like this isn't a particularly active image board, is what I'm saying.
All right, and it could very well be. It might have like a small core community, or it could be more people like me who are like trying to suck up people from these different groups, going in there to drop their link to their pony or whatever. Oh, I should get someone to do me a communist pony. Like I should do it.
There probably already is one, but yeah,
I might do a like 4-pager or something. Communist pony. I don't know. There's a thing.
Yeah, you're an artist. Do it yourself.
Oh, I don't. I'm just a writer. Like I don't do.
Okay.
Get someone else to do it. Although I've just remembered, there's a guy in Comicsgate, like the top dude, Ethan Van Sciver. He's got this book coming out called Rainbow the Brute, and it's like help me out, Americans in the chat. What's the cartoon? Oh, it's in the name. Rainbow Bright, and it there's a cartoon called Rainbow Bright in America. So he's done like the opposite of what the SJWs. So they come in, they feminize the characters, like take away all the masculinity or whatever. He's done the opposite of that in a parody of Rainbow Bright, where
right.
Like and there's a spin-off book in there called My Girthy Stallions. This should be going straight to the Brony community, and it like there it is. Adam's got it in the chat. My Girthy Stallions. Yeah, they'd eat that up. Like if we can build this bridge, but let's find out if they're Nazis first.
Yeah. People do you know who are involved in either of them? Most of the time they actually keep it quite secret from other people they know. And of course the whole point of either being a brony or a furry is to construct your own new persona. But to back up his claim that most people are white.
I don't necessarily know about that. Furries might just be interested in the art, and My Little Pony fans also might, like Bronies also might just be interested in the art. I don't think you have to make your own OC to be part of these communities.
I don't know. When I see furries, like unless you're a person who is actually wearing like a fursuit, having sex with your sister, like that one story earlier this year, I don't know if it counts. If you're just drawing like dog dudes doing it missionary,
I'd say you're also a furry in that instance. Yeah,
I would add the caveat that if like you're cracking off to that, yes, then you are. But if you're just drawing it to be funny,
fair enough.
The Napalm Brother says Skippy over there talks too fast. I've got it turned up, otherwise
it's got it at like 1.5 speed.
Adam says, I'll take furry money. I will. Like, if you want to back my book, and you're
but take it up front. Furries are very notorious for stiffing artists on the bill.
Oh, I have seen some furry artists that charge higher rates than professional comic book artists, and people will pay it. Like, let me just show you this thing. So,
people are a lot more loose with their wallets when they got one hand on their dick, dude.
Yeah, and anonymous as well. Like,
exactly.
So, earlier, some people who watch my show might know what this is. Like, I did a deep dive on the algorithms, like of Twitter, for this hashtag Bronies and Brony on it. So we did this before with Comicsgate, so I could get an idea of the size, like of the group, like, you know, and the demographics, and most importantly, who was the most influential. Like, that's how I always frame those. Would do the top 10 most influential, like, Comicsgaters, or top 10 most influential fandom lists, or like that. I've done that for Bronies, and the first thing you'll notice is here, 9,222 people on Twitter have hashtag Brony or hashtag Bronies in their profile, which is 4 times the size of Comicsgate, like in the same on the same metric, and like, and obviously not everyone who's Comicsgate has Comicsgate in their bio. Not everyone who's a brony does, but it's like just an interesting way to like gauge it or whatever. And this is the reason I'm showing you the biggest overlap, like in their Venn diagrams, is with this not safe for work.
Yeah, I would say that. I would say like a majority, or at least a large number of it, is like non-safe for work stuff. Yeah.
An interesting thing here, when I did this in Comicsgate, these like top influencers and stuff are all Comicsgate people. This seems to be all actual celebrities.
Well, Tara Strong and I believe Megan McCarthy or whatever are voice actors for the show, and are pretty active in it. And I believe Lauren Faust is the creator of the show.
All right, that does make sense then. Okay.
Yeah.
Brony Con, they have their own cons as well.
They have several, although I don't know if they're as popular now.
I don't know. Wayland Todd says, you said CG about 34 times now. Yeah, it's because that's my people. Like, where I'm coming from. And let's get back to this.
Did an article about both these cultures, and they said the International Anthropomorphic Research Project is a team of interdisciplinary scientists dedicated to studying the furry subculture. Their 2016 publication, For Science, a summary of 5 years of research.
I like the idea of scientists going and being like, can I have a research grant to watch some furries on the internet? Like,
if there's enough to be interested in, they'll just give you money. Yeah, they'll give you money if you have like the credentials and you have like something that's like, I guess, slightly interesting. Like academia can be kind of gamed for personal benefit.
Yeah, especially as well if you're promising to find Nazis. Like that's good headlines, ain't it?
It definitely can be. It definitely can be.
Jake English says furry science. In what a world we live. That's a good question. What would the study of furries be called? Like furryology feels too on the nose. Like,
well, I don't know if it would be like a specific field of study. It would probably be like looking at the way that groups and organizations form, and then sort of like a cross section with like this specific like weird odd fandom, I would guess.
Yeah, and that's what I want to do inside this one video. So
research from the International Anthropomorphic Research Project surveyed over 10,000 furries. The study found that the majority of furries are aged below 25, up to 85% identify as male, and up to 90% are white, 54% are atheist or agnostic, and 20%.
Okay, so right here he's laying out the numbers on it, and I just showed you that I've done some number crunching myself, and we can compare, like, and see how right that. Oh, we can't, because this is for furries. I should have searched for furries instead of bronies. But so it's interesting that 85% of them are supposedly male, because I always had it down as a sex thing, and I imagined it would be more equal than that. That's leading me to think maybe it's a gay sex thing, but I don't know. Is it like...
From what I've heard, there's like a really, really good video by Frederick Knudsen, the guy who does Down the Rabbit Hole, who did like a sort of brief history of furries and also like the subculture itself.
All right. Check it out. 9% white furries, yeah. Well, yeah, only...
23% are Christian. Within the furry fandom, there's a 21% overlap with bronies. So this isn't entirely representative of the brony community, but like this says, it's 21%. And although not focused on furry fandom, there's a 21% overlap with bronies. So this isn't entirely representative of the brony community, but like this says, it's 21%. And although not focused on the brony community, you can imagine the numbers are probably pretty similar within them as well. Just on my furry video where I focused on the Nazi furry called Buxler.
Okay, he did just say then that the brony community should have similar numbers in it, like so we can check that to confirm. It was like 85% male, 90% white was what it came up with in it. And we have 70% male, I mean, it's still a lot. It's still like disproportionately male. Mostly in LA. What does that tell you? That's summer. Only in English-speaking countries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, English. So the next most likely word to be in a Bronies bio is the word gamer, then love, then furry, then fan. So I would say that represents a 9.5% overlap. I swear he said it was 21, something like that.
Well, this is also just for Twitter users, but yeah.
Oh yeah, but it's got to be sort of reflective in it. Like the fact that the word furry is on there definitely shows that there's some correlation between furries and bronies. Like we're just comparing the numbers in it. The top name for bronies is that's the top first name. Bronies, rainbows, bronies, Michael. Oh, there we go. Some real names. This is a great tool for SEO, by the way. I highly recommend it. And yeah, 18 to 24. That's younger than my audience skews, based on my YouTube analytics. Who knows? Let's have a look at some of these. Yeah, TV. That's what I expect. No, I don't really want to see.
I'm going to focus here on a specific brony alt-right type of figurehead. So a brony called Buttercup Do ran a site called My Nationalist Pony. This started back in 2014. But it's very interesting how many of these views...
First, that made me laugh then, just the image in it. Like, because it's deliberately controversial, like ironic and sarcastic. Like, it's a joke. Yeah, I agree. Like, oh yeah, so World Comics Review says the fandom is a good furry documentary. Several of the 10 or so founding members were gay or lesbian. Yeah, I was saying this the other on that incels show that we did. Where's the gay incels? Doesn't seem to be any. Like, they don't seem to have the same problem, like, getting it.
Talks about in this interview he'd done with seemingly another alt-right brony. I've now become fairly mainstream in a lot of circles, but I think what the interview does is really get an insight into the type of people who are drawn to these online communities and a lot of the hypocrisy they inherently have by loving something that Nazis really wouldn't agree with. And interested just like Foxer in the furry video, Buttercup Do is actually gay as well. Just to add another wrinkle to all this, they're part of another group that Nazis inherently despise. So the interview says, let's begin with some biographical information. Who are you? Where are you from? Where were you born? And who are your people? Buttercup is being asked to talk about himself, his favourite thing. I would classify myself as demographically the exact type of person that white nationalists need to take an interest in. I'm a 23-year-old guy from South London, born at a now demolished local hospital near Croydon. Growing up, I can recall ever-increasing populations of diversity in the schools and colleges I attended and have never lived significantly far from here, so I've always been on top of a ground zero for white displacement. But just being from London myself, I find it hard to believe that where he lived significantly changed from about 2007 to 2014. I mean, of course...
I don't know about that. I mean, London is like really diverse. It's got its own districts and it, like, you know, obviously not officially, but the people there do segregate themselves like into their own subculture groups or whatever, you know, like there's the Turkish part, the Chinese part, like and I think that happens everywhere. Like I know we have a Chinese quarter in my city, like, and Chinatown's recurring enough thing to be a trope, like,
right?
I don't know.
I think he's also trying to like slyly insert that there is that any like perceived changes that might be like, I guess he's like talking about in terms of this interview might just be imagined. It seems what he's trying to do anyway.
And this Cavernacle guy, he speaks good and he speaks nice, yeah, because he lives in a rich white part of London. I'm guessing, I'm being purely prejudiced here based on his accent, like, but he talks better than me. And those rich white areas are still rich white areas. It's the low income poor areas that are where the people have been displaced, like this guy. And it's interesting, apparently this guy identifies as a gay man, He said he's part of another group that Nazis don't like, which I'm going to assume is Jews. Like, he's from London, so it's possible. But then he's going to also try and argue that this gay, possibly Jewish person is a Nazi. Like, if I was making this propaganda hit piece, I wouldn't include that stuff. Like, because it would go against, like, my own argument. You know what I'm saying? Max Muller asks, I only came here for the first time a few minutes ago. Does Mark respond to comments? Yeah, bro. Make sure you like and subscribe as well. That'll get me to read out your comments the most. Nefarious says, is this real life or is this the autistic twit failing the sarcasm test again? Yeah, I think so. Adam says it's just trolling. SJWs take this stuff seriously because they need to think the world is full of monsters. Yeah, they need enemies to fight in it. Like, I swear, like, racism was solved and they've undone it. Of
course, areas get more diverse, but to say that he's sitting and watching this community slowly change, I don't really buy it, especially because he's only 23. I mean, how politically aware are you when you're younger of things like diversity or areas not being fully white? Again, something you should keep in mind as I read this.
I mean, you can be aware of, like, changes in your environment from when you were, like, 12 to when you're 21. Like, that's kind of a non-argument, I would say.
Yeah, like, it's kind of dumb. World Comics Review also says nationalist doesn't automatically mean Nazi, by the way. Yeah, that's true. I agree with that. Nationalism's only like a hair's breadth away from patriotism. Like, and a lot of people really love their country. Like, and you can sort of understand that.
Doesn't make sense in the context of being from England. So continuing, the issue of my people is a difficult one. I'm the grandson of North Italian migrants and have a fairly Roman face, and any person with an eye for ethnicity can easily spot I'm not a true Anglo-Saxon native. Like any good son, I'm a proud rebel and have kicked back against my family's persistent...
All right, this is a thing, because in Europe... Okay, so as an American, do you think that all European people are white? Or not? Like, it's weird. Because some of them, it's weird what counts as white. Chinese counts as white sometimes. Like, it just depends on who's being oppressed in it. Like, as to where the boundaries on whiteness comes from. Like, I would argue that Latinos are white. Some of them, like, this whole thing's like, there's definitely differences with people from all over the world in it. That's true. But where we're making random lines to say a French person is white, which I would say a French person is white, but a Spanish person is gold. Like where there could be a gold French person. It's so dumb. Like the whole thing's dumb. Like trying to like group everyone into racial categories doesn't even work. But not for any reason other than where do you draw the lines? Like, it's dumb. Like, if you look at Africa, yeah. If you go from West Africa, so you got like Nigerians and Ivorians and stuff. Those guys are quite big, like with thick muscles, like and they're strong. And then you move to like East Africa, just on the other side. We're talking like Somalia, Ethiopia. Those guys are thinner, like wirier, still tough, strong, good at running, like you know what I'm saying. But then, just above them, you got like the Arabs in North Africa, Egypt, the Middle East, and that. And you can see that East Africa is like an overlap between these big, strong West Africans and these North African Arabians, like that they're somewhere in between. It's all a blur. It's all blended.
Alienating liberalism with an interest in genetics, ethnicity, and ancestry. On a political level, I identify as a pan-European white nationalist. I do not feel comfortable around non-whites, mainly because they mostly harbour a desire to kill me for being a whitey. On a macro scale, if not a personal one. On a personal level, I identify with intellectual white.
If someone said that to me years ago, oh, I'm scared of black people because I think they're going to kill me, I would say, that is ridiculous and you are a racist. But now, since like the BLM protests and all of the antagonism that I'm seeing towards white people, white men specifically, like I don't feel scared around them, but I can understand why someone might now. Like it'd be easy to buy into that narrative or whatever that they're coming to get us or whatever.
Well, it also might be just like he said, like a just general shift in terms of like the people around him at like childhood to now. And like it just might like come off as like a shock because generally humans try to stay in like familiar situations and you know,
I don't know, it's weird. I don't know.
Who share the same racial consciousness as I do. Don't think there are too many intellectuals who think that way. But again, you're seeing the type of person who would be attracted to being on the alt-right. To describe your intellectual journey to white nationalism, my journey to white nationalism was a short and simple one. I simply became conscious of being white. This happened to me because of a perpetual dissatisfaction of the views of the social circles I ran in when I found conflicting viewpoints and evidence on the web. So many talks about growing up and going through various different stages of political beliefs. But then this is interesting. It was around this time I was coming to terms with being a flaming homo. So I frequented the gay bars around the place. I saw a lot of working class masculine white men in their 30s and 40s standing around with their thumbs up their asses while the DJ blared out the song Tragedy. The contradiction between the male reality and the third gender leftist fantasy about homosexual men was made very apparent to me at the time, so I never really bought the gay identity that the left was selling. Nor did I buy the multicultural fantasy that my university town was twinned with, so this all fueled my intellectual journey to white nationalism. It opened a window to an identity I belonged to innately and gave me a greater purpose than sulking beside a rainbow flag. The music and ideology of white nationalism projected an ideological shield around me that I was part of a racial folk movement that was very remote and vastly superior to the Nancy Pampy filth that surrounded me. Just to stop it there, I find this extremely interesting in terms of this is a gay man who is extremely self-loathing, and I think that might reveal a lot about him in terms of...
He doesn't sound like he's like inherently self-loathing, at least not about his gayness.
He described it as flaming, didn't he?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I think he was more expressing satisfaction with.
Yeah, if he said the word "flaming" with the right hand action, it completely changes the context of him saying it. I mean, he could be saying if he's going like he's wearing like lycra and stuff when he says it, it means something different. That's one of the problems with written word, and that it's harder to express the nuance that you would get like vocally instead. Timothy Olsen's here. He says, what's all this then? We're talking about bronies. Max Willer says, know you both because I saw your comments over at Kiwi Farms. What do you think of that website? I like some of its positions because I support free speech, but I'm unsure what to think of it. I go there because I started going there because they attack Comicsgate there on it, and I've made it quite clear that nobody gives you better feedback than your enemies. Like, so that's what, like, purely to find where's the chinks. Show me the chinks, like, not Chinese people. Show me the chinks in the armor in it, like, so I can defend myself better. And Kiwi Farms, like 4chan, there's a lot of irony and sarcasm there. Like, you have to be able to tell the difference. There are times when I wince, like when I'm reading stuff, but even then it's because the joke missed, like, not necessarily the subject of the joke. It just wasn't good enough. You know what I mean? Like, I can excuse anything if the joke's good enough. Like, make good jokes is what I'm saying. What do you think, Flamenco?
I would probably stay away from saying that it's a free speech website. It's definitely a unpopular speech website, but there is like a level of decorum that is expected. But it is like definitely something that is against a sort of new sanitized internet trend of, you know, we got to have everything be like it is on TV. And I think it's like one of the last vestiges of sort of like the old internet attitudes towards a lot of things, which is definitely something I think is important.
I agree. I like the fact that it's a forum, like, you know, because now we've got Twitter and Facebook and your other social medias. They're built differently. Like, forums have this nostalgic feeling that remind me of being a teenager on the internet, where you could say all of that stuff anonymously. Like, I'm not even anonymous over there. Like, I'm using my name, like, because Comic Mark's my birth name, obviously. You know what I mean? I like it. It's pretty funny. Like, but I don't recommend anyone goes there or signs up or anything. Just oh, and people say that it's alt-right or whatever, that it's a rightist website, but it's not. Like, there's so many threads there, and I've seen threads that have been overrun by leftists that are controlled by leftists now, and vice versa. Like, it just depends who or what the subject is in it. Like, I think it's pretty diverse. It might not be 50-50. I don't have the numbers, but there's definitely some diversity there. That was racist, Mark. Outrageous.
As a gay man, he does not identify with anyone who's not masculine, and he doesn't want to be a part of the gay community. He instead wants to join a community that actively hates people like him. He doesn't actually talk about when he came out or anything, but obviously I can imagine going through something like that is actually pretty hard. He might have had to be in the closet for a lot of his life and, you know, might have struggled with a lot of identity issues. I'm not saying that makes gay people more likely to be white nationalists, but it's interesting how, as someone like that, he really struggles with being part of the gay community. So that sort of reveals why he wants to join like a white nationalist movement, but let's get into why he might want to join the Brony community as well and the white nationalist segment of it. So tell us about your education and intellectual influences. My state education was appalling, and I continually questioned my teacher's explanations of dogmas of cheerful naivety. I came out of university with a mountain of debt. He came out of university with a disillusionment with every culturally Marxist enviro crap in every shape and a barely containing existential crisis. It was at this point I started my nationalist pony. I grappled with finding an identity and gloomy employment prospects and was sustained by two things: white nationalism as a temporal power and My Little Pony as an emotional visionary power. I immediately recognized My Little Pony as a white racial folk analogy and began to read further and further into the alternative right. It was at this point that my real intellectual formation began. And then later he goes into the...
This guy who's being interviewed, this sounds like the kind of interview that you would give after you are a person who is being kicked out of a community. Like, you know, so we have this thing in Comicsgate that when people are ejected, and sometimes people are, like, you know, if you're bringing too much shit, like, to our collective doors, people get the boot. That's a thing that happens. But when people go, they're always like, I'm gonna burn Comicsgate to the fucking ground. Like, without fail, they always do, and they do all these hit piece videos and articles and that. Like, and this guy being interviewed, I can smell butthurtness in this interview, is what I'm saying. Like, this feels like a smear. Like, he's trying to, like, label the group like himself or whatever.
The Brony fandom specifically, and says, like a deranged science experiment busting out a lab and going AWOL across the country, the response to Friendship is Magic, which is the title of the cartoon, from an unexpected demographic of young men aged 14 to 35, has resulted in a massive subculture known as the Brony fandom. This is my audience, an implicitly and heavily white group of young men who are suffering from a total disillusionment with modern life, casting around for an identity and meaningful purpose. Basically, the target demographic that white nationalism needs to capture if whites to survive. Despite a healthy crop of alienated losers seeking inclusion, the presence and sheer scale of the Brony fandom cannot be underestimated. Brony
Hey, a slight tangent here. I hate these just reading article videos. And the guy hasn't made a joke yet. Like, I could forgive loads of this if he was, like, dropping punchlines, like, after these sentences, but he's not. You know what I'm saying? And we still haven't seen any pictures. Like, the thumbnail had like
so like on a visual, auditory, and like writing level, it's just a very boring and bland video to you.
Yeah. I'm definitely not gonna watch this again. Like, and it is possible to make drama videos that I will go back and watch in a year or 2 years after they happened. Like, but they've got to be good. You've got to nail it. It's got to be funny, and the jokes have to be timeless. Like, you can still make topical jokes, but like, make the punchline timeless. Like, it's comedy writing, isn't it?
Almost a surrogate white nationalism, self-organized brony meets function as implicitly white events where white young men can bond socially over aspirational, non-materialistic, transcendental ideals in a non-judgmental, inclusive environment. So there's a lot to unpack.
There's a great comment here from Adams that basically sums up like my thoughts on this. He says, can't a load of white guys get together and prance around in pony costumes without somebody making it about race? It's great. And wearing like costumes, being a furry should be the great racial equalizer, in it. Like it's like a hairy burqa. Like nobody, you can't make any racial prejudices on people based on their if they're wearing a furry costume or whatever. Does the furry community have colorism? Like, do black dog boys get laid less? Like,
dogs and the cats probably don't get along very well.
No, see, I wonder if that's true as well. Like, do they go in and speak? What? Sphinxer says, is Mark simping at Witten now? I don't get that. Witten's a tangentially comics game person. Smaggle Brother says, this is why I don't like the quartering. Yeah, article stuff. Like, this one's, when I was saying earlier about, when you're doing topical stuff, it's a race, and it, like, and the easiest way to win the race is to read out an article. It's not to spend 2 days writing a witty, satirical, like, takedown of it. Like, by the time that you've done that, the moment has passed. Like, and the next news is out. Gotta find timeless stuff. That's the key. I'll do it. Just gotta work out.
But I think this little case study gives a good glimpse into the type of people who not only join alt-right brony communities, but also alt-right furry communities, in the sense that, like he said, the brony environment, because it's so niche and everything, it's kind of weird, I guess, for a lot of people that adult men love a child's cartoon that is very feminine. But as such, when they're in that community, there is no judgment. And because a lot of people who may seek out a community like that, an inclusive community, a community to give them some sort of identity, are struggling with a lot of issues. And the fact that a lot of these are actually young, disillusioned white men really makes it a fertile ground for alt-right recruitment, just as the furry community is. Because let's keep it real, if you told the average person you were a brony or a furry, they're not going to react very positively. They're going to think you're very, very weird. And I guess there's some...
So, I asked a bunch of people today at Mega Evil Corp if they knew what bronies were. And not a single person did. I asked my partner, who I live with, no idea. Like, people outside of the internet don't know what bronies are. People have this weird perception that Twitter is representative of normal Earth reality, when it's definitely not. Like, so he's saying that if you say to someone that you're a furry or a brony, they'll instantly respond with negativity, but the real response that you would get is, what is that? Like, 'cause people don't know. Like, we're all weird internet people. Like, we know. Maxwell says, are there any bread tubers you personally like? Kind of like 3 Arrows content. I do kind of like some H Bomber guy videos. You know, there's that one that there's like a bitten one where, so he makes funny videos. You can tell that he spends the days writing them in it. And a lot of them, not all of them, a lot of them are this timeless video that I'm talking about. These are the videos that rack up 100,000 views and 1 million views, because you can watch them like anytime. There's a great one where he makes a great joke. It's talking about Ben Shapiro and the rising sea levels, and Ben Shapiro says, like, why don't you just sell your house then? And he's like, who to? Fucking Aquaman. It's a good joke. Like, I quite like some of his content. I haven't watched it all. What about do you have any like that you would like flamenco? I know that you're sort of on the anti.
If I had to like
right?
say like one that does like a relatively good job,
Just funny. Funny is the most important thing for me.
I mean, funny can be good. Not a big fan of H Bomber Guy, but that's mostly due to like only I've seen like stuff that of his that's like kind of bad. It really kind of depends on whether or not he's like personally invested in the video, because generally if he's not personally invested with a specific outcome in the video, he can probably do a good job. His Fallout 3 video is pretty good, but if he has like a vested interest in it, it can really taint his research into it. Like his Dark Souls 2 video is like really fucking bad, like embarrassingly bad. But that's just the one that really comes to mind on that one. He seems to just have kind of a, I've already made my mind up and I'm going to see it through regardless of whatever the hell I see afterwards. So that's always a bad sign for me.
That's how you write good propaganda, and I literally said earlier, like that if stuff disagrees with your argument, don't put it in the video. Like it depends. It depends what you're trying to do in it. If you're trying to convince people to your point of view, if you're fighting a culture war, like and you're trying to convert people, you're trying to move the Overton window, do that. Do propaganda. Or if you're trying to be like a fair and balanced guy and be reasonable and just grill in the center or whatever, present both sides. It depends what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Sort of solidarity that really comes from these communities where you know everyone will treat you differently and treat you weird, but here you are all connecting over your shared love of these types of things. But as that interview sort of outlined, because of the prominence of white men, it also becomes very, very easy to start bonding over white nationalism. Because like you see with a lot of Nazi communities.
That's kind of a fucking stretch. That assertion right there, like anytime like white people gather together, you have to be worried about white nationalism. It's like anytime black people gather together, you have to worry about black nationalism. Like what? I would argue
that the opposite of that is true. Like in that if I was working for Steve Bannon or something, and I'm trying to spread white nationalism. What I would do is I'd isolate white people. I get 2 white people together against 12 non-white people in it, like force them to be outnumbered. Like I would argue the less white people that are in a group, the more likely you are to spread white nationalism in that group. Does that make sense? Like, because he even was describing earlier, it's about these feelings of alienation or whatever. He's saying that now, so you've got these feelings of alienation and now you're in a community with other people who feel that way. I don't know. Just focus on the bumming, man. Just do some gay furry sex in it. Like, a lot of the problems that I'm seeing so far, people should have more sex.
Their problems on themselves. They usually target immigrants, they usually target non-white people, and they see the way for their life to get better is for white nationalists and white people to rule just as the Nazis did. But again, what I never really understand with furries and bronies is that the Nazis, the real Nazis, and real active white supremacists would never ever accept.
Okay, this is great, because what he just did was he just admitted that the bronies and the furries are not real Nazis, like because he was just about to compare like what real Nazis would be like about how bronies are or whatever, and in doing that, that admits that they're not really Nazis, right? Like he just fell into his own logical trap. Adam D says gay furry sex is a bit redundant. And Dr. Beast Hunter says, yes, the BNP, that's the British Nationalist Party. That's like our most right-wing party over here. BNP would always head to cities with large non-white populations and spread division. Yeah, that's the way you do it. You don't find like big groups of white people, like find isolated ones. Adams says, I've been on the internet a long time, and BBSs before that, and never been recruited by nationalists. That dents my confidence. Stop American hate. Yeah.
Because as we all know, Nazism and white nationalism is very set in its ideology for the human race. And this includes things like gender roles and the intolerance of homosexuality. I think they would just see bronies the same way they see furries. They'd probably just see them as sexual degenerates. So it of course seems weird that My Little Pony could attract such awful people. But I guess it's just when a subculture grows like this, when you do have a lot of adult men, white adult men, as fans of this children's TV show, and of course to society that seems really weird, it seems like a meme, it's something to ridicule. I think that just adds to the sense that these people in this community are oppressed. So the alt-right version
It's
I don't think anyone's really oppressed by like society thinking it's weird to watch like a children's TV show, especially if, although I will say in Japanese subcultures with like some of the more like kid-focused shows, there is like a adult fan base for them too. I
don't think it's weird for a grown adult man to like a children's cartoon, because children's cartoons are made by grown adult men, like and a good cartoon made by a grown adult man is the kind of cartoon that a grown adult man would want to watch. Like do you know what I mean? Like if I was hired by Cartoon Network or something to make a cartoon for children, I would still make the cartoon that I want to watch. Like if I'm going to put my name on it, it's going to be something that I want.
Of them think they're being oppressed for both being maybe bronies.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. That you can hide being a brony or being a furry. Like it's not like being a black person. You can't come out as a black person. Like that's quite obvious. So again, I'm not seeing how bronies are particularly oppressed. I feel that they're maybe more celebrated than oppressed. And if anyone's oppressing them, it's this dude calling them all Nazis. Dr. Beast Hunter says the My Little Pony cartoon wasn't bad, to be fair. My daughter loves it. I haven't watched it. I did want to watch one ahead of the show, but I ran out of time. Like we was already half an hour late. I mean, traditionally, we're late and gay every week. But I did want to watch one. Didn't get a chance to. Jake English says people still rewatch SpongeBob. I hate SpongeBob, I do. Like, but that's more of a. I think it's a tribal Cartoon Network versus Nickelodeon kind of thing. I think that's my main bias. Because I kind of know a guy.
And being white.
The chat are doing some good stuff. Well, Comics Review says, didn't Rachel Dolezal or whoever she is in the USA have to come out as black? I think she had to come out as white, really, didn't she? Like, you remember
she faked being black, yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Not like our guy, what's his name? I know his surname's London. It's Charlie's London's brother. You know that trans Korean guy from the other week? Maybe 2 months ago. What a dude. That's such a weird phenomenon, transracialism. And we're going to see more and more as people like the Kavanagh here are oppressing like white people. People are maybe going to convert races or whatever.
Well, I think there's also going to be people that just like unambiguously support them in that, and that might be part of it too.
Like the racial one's so dumb. Like the color of your skin is related to the area of the earth that you come from and the amount of sunlight projected onto that area. That's all it is. Like, if you just look at sun, earth, light. Nah, that's not going to be good enough. Like, map. Come on, please be perfect. No. What I want is a light distribution map, Penny. Can't even write. No, I'm being dumb. Fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, the pigmentation of your skin is a defense against skin cancer. Like, that's all it is. That's the reason why people on the equator are the brownest, and then the further north and south that you go, the lighter they get. Like, in the middle, you need protection from skin cancer. On the other end, you need protection from scurvy. You need more vitamin K or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a fucking biologist. I'm a retarded YouTuber.
And it's just a good way to connect with like-minded people. Like I said at the start, you can just like these things. You don't have to be some sort of insane racist. But I think what the interview showed is that a lot of these people have a lot of problems, maybe have some identity issues, and that's why they become so susceptible to messages from the alt-right. And why they might like things like My Little Pony or dressing up in a fursuit, I guess that's kind of second to the community they can often be included in when they join these groups, because there's a significant section of them that are neo-Nazis. It's clear they're not really thinking it.
So he agrees that they're not all Nazis, but I can guarantee you that non-Nazis on Twitter who are bronies get called Nazis all the time, and it's such a common thing on Twitter how we've devalued like the word Nazi and what it means. Like, I get called a Nazi on Twitter. Me, commie Mark, like I get called a Nazi and a fascist and stuff when I'm very clearly a communist. I assume that happens to you as well. That happens to everyone, right? Everyone gets called a Nazi. And those people in these communities, in these nerd communities, in these niche nerd communities, who are being called Nazis, being called right-wingers, like by these SJWs, these I'm trying to find the anti-SJW nerds in it, like, because those are the people that I want to sell my book to. That's all it is. Like, and I think that there's some here. Being a white nerd who gets called a Nazi, you're not gonna like that. Like, they're poisoning people. Like, I don't know.
Through in a lot of ways, because if they got their goal of white nationalism taking over the world or taking over whatever country they're in, these people would not be tolerated on two levels for being part of these communities and for being gay. But anyway, I just thought it'd be interesting to shed some light on another weird alt-right community in a seemingly innocent fandom. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please like the video and share it if you want. Maybe subscribe to the channel. We're almost on 10k and I'm super excited to finally hit that milestone. Follow me on social media at The Tabernacle on mainly Twitter. All
right, so let's leave a dislike.
It's still engagement, so I don't know.
I know, it still counts. It still counts, don't it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave a comment. It's gotta be something short. You know, I did this video on incels 2 weeks ago or whatever, which was a good video. It's the most viewed video on my channel now, which is great. But I have never seen such paragraphs in the comments. You know, my videos get an amount of comments or whatever, but they're usually like, "Good job, Mark. Like, keep up the good communist work," or whatever. Like, these people were pouring out their lives to me, and I don't want to do that. I want something pithy. It's Nazis. It's British. I'm just gonna put. Check out Oswald Mosley over here. You know who Oswald Mosley is, Flamenco?
Yeah, he was like a British politician, right?
Yeah, he's like a British fascist politician, and like a bit of a Nazi. His son got into some trouble. Max Mosley, former racing driver, he got caught in some Nazi sex parties or whatever. So, because of who his dad is, like, gets in trouble. But like, that doesn't mean they support Nazism, does it? Like having a fetish for being whipped by Nazis is not the same thing as supporting the Holocaust, for example. Which brings me on to Vosh. Like, I've been watching lots of clips of Vosh or whatever recently, and he calls stuff Holocaust denial all the time, like when it's clearly not. Like, Vosh's interesting to me because he's got his own like thought terminating cliches that we don't see like in other places. It's really interesting, like looking at all these different communities. We're so close to each other yet so far apart. Let's take that out. Where are we? All right. I don't think I have anything else to say. Remember to like and subscribe if you're in the chat and you don't already. Let's have a look, see if we managed to pass that total that we was close to. No, not yet. We're still just at the most 5 subscribers away from 1.4k. Real close. Please do that. Flamenco Comrade, do you have anything that you want to add? Like, in fact, when I was I was watching a video about you, actually, that Vosh video that he made. Fascinating stuff. He mentioned on that show that you are tangentially related to the Kill Stream somehow.
Yeah, I used to be a co-host for Ralph's show.
Yeah, I've never actually watched that show, but it's one of those shows that I'm aware of. Particularly, that's the dude who was in the Chris Chan clip, and like the shouting dude, like, come on my stream. That was that guy, right? Yeah, interesting. He's one of those guys that people hate as well, like the quartering, like geeks and gamers and that. It's interesting. And there's big numbers of subscribers like to channels like this, and it's how do we get them to come here? Most importantly, how do I get them to buy comic books? Like, that's the most important thing. I want Max Miller says, what's your opinion on the Frankfurt School? I think it's a conspiracy, like a right-wing conspiracy. I think it's nonsense. I think that we always give too much credit to our enemies. Like, people who believe in the Illuminati, that like the evil guys are all on a team, like, to control the world. They ain't on a team. Like, no one wants to share control of the world. We overestimate them. Smaggles Brother says, go and subscribe to Flamenco, everyone. Here's a link. I dropped a link in the chat. Go and drop him a sub. Like, if you're one of my guys. He might have just fact checked insertion. I don't know what that is, and I'm not sure if I want to. Ralph gets hate for many reasons, I assume that's supposed to say. Yeah, so you got anything to add before we if we can do one, go home?
Nope, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for coming on. It was nice to finally meet you, to get to speak to you in real life. I had a nice time. The audience seemed to have a nice time. We held a pretty decent view count. So thanks. In fact, I'm going to play. Where are you? Where is it? Let's go out on this one.
New wave. I'm a modern man. I'm new wave. I'm a modern man, a man for the millennium. A diversified, multicultural, postmodern deconstructionist, politically, anatomically, and ecologically incorrect. I've been uplinked and downloaded, I've been inputted and outsourced. I know the upside of downsizing, I know the downside of upgrading. I'm a high-tech lowlife, cutting-edge, state-of-the-art, bi-coastal multitasker and give you a gigabyte in a nanosecond. I'm a hot-wired, heat-seeking, warm-hearted, cool customer. A high-concept, low-profile, medium-range, ballistic missionary. I interface with my database is in cyberspace. 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 A raging workaholic. A working rageaholic, but I'm feeling, I'm caring, and I'm healing, I'm sharing. A raging workaholic. A working rageaholic, but I'm feeling, I'm caring, and I'm healing, I'm sharing. You can't shut me up. You can't dumb me down. I got a personal trainer, a personal shopper, a personal assistant, personal agenda. I help power lies, take power naps, I run victory. I read junk mail, I eat junk food, I buy junk bonds, I watch trash sports. I'm new wave. I'm a modern man.